The way it began is that my parents suffered greatly as they were Holocaust survivors, in the sense that they had to do the wandering into the United States. And I always appreciated their pain and their sense of seeking to do good for humanity rather than to fall apart and hate all the people that were involved in this. And then it came up that I spoke to two women. I spoke to one woman who was doing a women's choir at Auschwitz, and that touched my heart so deeply. And so I connected with her, and I told her, you know, my grandmother was gassed there. And as far as I know, she was deported on the day I was born. And my mother always had a love-hate relationship to me, because the complexity of knowing you've left your mother behind to have a wonderful life with a new child. And that was always a balancing act for her. And she suppressed the pain, but it came up so often in very unusual ways. And then I spoke to a woman who is an American, who lives in Germany, and she's been active in the peace movement, and I spoke with her, and she told me she married a German and had moved to a small German town. And there she understood, as she lived there, she began to do research because she was a journalist, and she understood that Hitler, when he understood that the Americans were coming, wanted to get all the Jews out of Germany. So it was called the last train to Auschwitz. And the train was loaded with dead bodies, it was loaded with unconscious bodies and starving bodies. But this was freedom. They were just going, and this was the beginning of their freedom. And so she started inquiring into the truth of this, and speaking to the townspeople and interviewing them. And to her amazement, not anyone knew that story. She finally found one woman who had been the station master. And the station master woman said, of course everybody knows. You know, you could hear the sounds of the train when it stopped. You could hear the screaming of the people, the desperation as they looked for food in the community, and the smell of the dead people. I guess she told me it so vividly that I experienced it. And then she told me that it moved her so much that she spent a long time identifying someone from Auschwitz who had been a survivor that had been on that train. And she determined to make a peace event. So she invited a man to come to this small town who had been one of the people that had been unconscious on the train, and the station master. And together they presented the event to reawaken the people to the reality of their history, not to go through it and to say, you know, who's to blame, but at least know your history. And the man, because he couldn't remember anything, because he had been unconscious, he just cried, and the tears rolling down. And with that, the woman explained step by step what happened and how the people went into the town looking for bread and everything, and people in the town, how afraid they'd been and closed down their houses, and the sounds, etc. But anyway, they made a speech, and then they planted trees along the train side. So this, I know, it very much touched me. And the woman from Berlin who had done the choir works a lot with the political history of Germany and concern for its future, and is very involved in Auschwitz. And so we started this three-way dialogue conversation, and I have a history of taking situations and turning them around and seeing the potential of what can we bring forward now. What is it that we could really do that would bring in the new, that would actually help people understand the past is the past, and now if we recognize that the past was so horrid, can we take that horrible feeling and turn it into something beautiful, like making a cake or something? And especially with young people from all over the world, some, like I've been with Africans, they never even heard of a Jew. And I think it's interesting, you go to different places in the world. I mean, this is not a big event. For us, it was a big event in the West, but for them, their events are big, yeah? So can we bring young people from all around the world and have them begin to think about what does new leadership look like? What is global society? Who are we as one humanity? How will we grow together? How can we make models that give us the potential to understand that we can care for each other without losing anything of our own identity? And so I have a history, and I'm known in a world, my small world, and these women said, well, why don't we go there together? And from this kernel, there's something growing. It feels like to me, like I've been doing a whole life spiraling, and I'm coming to the point of my ending and my new beginning. It's a legacy piece, that I would end up in this part of my life going to a place that was my beginning, and then seeing that it has some relevance, that of course there's some clearing for me to do, but on the other hand, inviting my ancestry to understand that we can do something magnificent. We don't have to suffer anymore. Suffering is, we identify and attach to it. We don't need to do that anymore. We can begin to imagine what could be beautiful. So I am going there with these two women, and from that, people have started to hear about it. And that's why I'm saying about known. And so the World Peace Prayer Society, who I work with very frequently, they come from Japan. Someone from their group is meeting me. But so in my mind, and this is nothing real yet, before there's a physical center, we could have a World Peace Prayer flag ceremony where you say, may there be peace in Japan. May the people in Japan feel peace. May peace prevail on earth. And we do it for every country of the world. So we start to stake in this energy of what that means, So on a hot spot, we become a new spot. And so that's the dream. And then I understand we have meetings with some of the people that have been very active already in Auschwitz, like the Human Rights Director. There are many people there that have been doing good work. The only thing that I feel about their good work, if I look at it, it's always about how to get over the pain of the past. And what we want to do is go past the pain of the past into the beauty of what can be. And I've always been a builder of dreams and saying, if there's a dark building and a light building, which building do you want to walk into? So hopefully that I can handle this and that from this we will begin to build and pilot an actual center there. And I think it'll be very easy and creative to raise funds for this, because I think it's going to touch a chord, and it's not abstract. So much of the work is abstract. Oh, we want a better world. Oh, we want peace. Oh, we want this. But this is very concrete. And I did run a center for many years, and I am an educational administrator, so it would be using all my skills. It seems like a natural. So we shall see, but that's what's coming up for me. I've never been there.
How does it feel for you a week before?
I've never been drawn to go there. For me, I'm not drawn to sites of pain. In general, it's not my work. I've walked through sites of pain. I've walked through places of war. I've walked through devastation, but I'm not attracted to doing work with it. I made a commitment somewhere in my life that I rather do what I believe than try to fix what's broken. You know, that those are very two different things. And that I would use my life in this lifetime, right now, here, to build what I believe. And I invite others, and it's not about I, and there are many people doing many things, but each person has the responsibility to take who they are and use their life to the best of their abilities. And when you give up the sense of what is success and recognize that you're here for a short time, that it seems relevant to use your life in a way that has some purpose, that you, when you're at your dying bed, can say, yes, I did my best.
So would you say that maybe these dark periods in our history can get a meaning that can work something like as a fertilizer for something good?
I think, yes, I think it's fertilizer for something good, because we know we don't want it, you know, and we do not want it. What's been sad is that when somebody is hurt, I used to work with children that had difficulties, and the minute the difficulty became better, they would go and hurt somebody else. It was that power, you know. I feel good now, I can crash you, you know. So how to get beyond that model and to really help human beings understand that we're able to be good to each other in a way that doesn't deprive us of anything in particular, but rather is rewarding. So yes, it's fertile ground in the sense, well, first of all, the whole world has suffered everywhere. I remember when I was in Africa and Ghana, and we went to the slave castles, and we saw, and I understood how many millions of people, they're poets, they're scientists, they're politicians, were stripped naked and tied up in these shackles and put into boats and sent in the water. I mean, who are we? What is this about? You know, and then they're brought to America or to Holland or to wherever, and then they're told they're slaves and that they're valueless. Well, the whole point is everyone is valuable, and we have to help learn that for ourselves, that we're valuable and they're valuable. We're all valuable, and we're all in this world together. Yes, so fertile ground, yes, and I don't think anybody that's had terrible pain doesn't want any more. We all want to stop suffering. We all don't want to see somebody hurt. Even when you see a car accident and you see someone is being pulled out, I mean, your heart goes out. You know, that's a reality. There's somebody suffering in there. We don't want that. Now, please. Now, the point is with children whose conscience hasn't been really evolved and developed, that's what we've got to be careful about, because you can train those minds to think that killing is fun and that it's a sport, and you can train them to think that it's empowering. I never forget when I worked with young people from the gangs, and then they told me the pleasure of shooting another person that gives them that sense of, look what I can do, you know? And they don't have the sense of long life and the value of life and things like that. So we have to be very, very careful how we educate our children, you know, and we have to be careful what we say, and we have to be careful what we show them. And if we can create environments that create new understanding, that give them a little of that, we'll do good in the world. And they will take over. And they're the engine that are running the future, not us. We're the talkers. Yeah.